everybody, this is Freddy with Freddy Can Fly, and welcome back to Freddy's Flight Academy. And in today's flight instruction video, I thought I'd kind of take it back just a little bit from some of the previous videos we've been doing and focus on something a little more advanced but also a little more basic. I've been having some requests for this, but I wanted to kind of cover hurricanes and different variations of hurricanes. I get a lot of questions about hurricanes and different orientations. And before we get into it, guys, the one thing I want you to realize with hurricanes is they're all the same, just different controls. And what I mean by that is momentum control and orientation, they all vary the same as far as how you control the heli. So for example, let's go into just an inverted hurricane like this. And as always, guys, the more angle and the more pull, the faster and harder the turn. Whereas the less angle and less pull, the wider and slower the turn. So right now we're going into kind of like a medium hurricane. And this is just an inverted tail end. This is probably the most common hurricane you'll see. But so my advice with hurricanes would be is right now you'll see that I try to keep the tail completely sideways at all times through the hurricane. That kind of guides the heli around. If I let my tail slide, look what happens. I kind of pull out of it. But I can get right back into it. See how that happened? Hopefully I was close enough for you to tell. But for the most part, sitting on this angle that I'm on, I'm using very little collective, just enough to kind of guide me around. But most of it's, I'm on my angle and then I'm pulling back with the elevator and making subtle corrections here and there, of course, to keep the hurricane in as circular a fashion as possible. Now, it's getting a little wider and I'm not really liking that. So let's go ahead and see if we can tighten it up. So I'm going to pull a little bit harder and give a little more collective. And keep that rudder nice and flat, guys. That's the key here. Guide it around. So you'll notice how I was able to tighten it up. So let's go ahead and widen it out a little. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten out my angle a little, and I'm going to pull a little less on the elevator, and then slow down my rudder and ease off the collective just a little bit. Boom, we went nice and wide. Okay, so the basic fundamental of a hurricane is exactly this. No matter what orientation we're in, the angle determines the speed, the elevator basically determines how wide the circle is, and we want to keep that rudder on an angle. So let's go ahead and tighten it up real fast. Boom, you can see how I just pulled back hard. We kind of sharpened our angle a little bit. I lost a little bit of momentum there. So let's gain it back a little bit here, and let's try tightening her up again. And so, I mean, you can even do nice and tight ones, but you can keep it nice and slow, and that's determined upon your collective, of course. And how much propulsion you have, if you will. So this is a nice, slow, tight one. And then if we want to stop the hurricane at any time, we're just going to level out and ease off the collective. And you'll notice I exited that hurricane nice and easy. So no matter what orientation you guys use, the hurricane rules still apply. Let's do a right side up one. So we're going to enter in, we're going to give some tilt, and we're going to start to pull back on that elevator. We're going to get that rudder adjusted sideways. And try to keep that nice and vertical, and we're just going to start to kind of guide ourselves around the turn. And you want to pay attention to what's happening with the heli, of course, at all times. If we start to drop in altitude, you'll see I lost my rudder a little bit right there. I'm kind of dropping in altitude a little bit, so let's widen out. And as strange as it sounds, guys, I actually have a really hard time with right side up hurricanes, whereas inverted ones are so much easier in nature to me for some reason. I mean, it just is what it is. But like I've told you guys, don't handicap yourself. Learn them in all orientations. If we want to go for an inverted nose-in one, let's try that out. So we're going to... Oop, that was a bad approach there. So you'll see I was able to fix it. And so let's get on our angle. Let's keep that rudder sideways. Let's keep that forward elevator pull now, which is what we're focusing on to guide us around and keep the tightness of that circle. Keep that rudder nice and flat. Tighten up the collective just a little bit. So let's try tightening up the turn. Pull a little bit harder. Give a little more collective. So you guys can see how this all affects each other. And I mean, hurricanes can be transitioned. There we go. We just had a nice little switch. We can go into a pie dish one, which those get a little hard, and actually I just lost my momentum entirely. That was really sloppy, but that's okay. I can still save it. I can come in, and we can bring us around. We can tighten that up really good. So as far as hurricanes go, guys, I mean, a hurricane to me is kind of a hard trick to teach you, to guide you to learn. You just have to kind of get out and let the heli run, you know. Pay close attention to subtle adjustments and what happens. You know, learn how to do them right here on the deck, nice and low. You can see I can keep this hurricane, even though I wouldn't classify this as a hurricane, probably just more of like a tail-based term. But even this right here, it kind of has the same fundamentals, and I'm keeping the same rules to keep the heli closer. And it's actually a little bit harder to keep the heli nice and tight than it is to you know, do the nice big wide ones. I mean, if I want to let the heli run for days, I can take the heli out like this into a hurricane, give just a slight bit of tilt on the aileron, and pull back that elevator just nice and easy, nice and slow. And this bad boy is going to just coast all day. I mean, on camera you probably can't really even see the heli at all right now, but come zooming by and get that roam effect, you know. But so essentially, I mean, that's really it for your basic hurricanes, guys. I really wish I could give you a more in-depth, but you know, you got to just kind of get out and experience the maneuver itself. Tips I will give you on hurricanes, guys, is they are not guided by collective pitch. And let's see if we can give you some examples of what happens if you give not enough and too much. So let's get into our hurricane here. Keep that pull on that elevator, keep it circular. Now I'm going to give a lot of pitch. And you'll see I just kind of basically bail out, and I lose basically all control momentum at that point, and the heli kind of gets out of control. That was full collective, okay? So let's go back into another one, and let's be really soft and kind of greedy with that collective to where we're a little afraid to use it, okay? So I'm going to not give a whole lot on this turnout here, and you'll see right there I basically just lost it. I was basically falling towards the ground at that point. Let's see if we can get another example of that. So we're going to go into another one here. Try staying a little closer here. So I'm going to let off the collective as I come around right here. There's no collective, and you'll see, I mean, I had to save the heli because I was dropping down. So collective alone, guys, pay close attention to detail of things like that. Now, also with the hurricane, let's ignore collective for a minute. Let's assume we've got our collective mastered. Now, to start into the hurricane, once again, we're going to get into momentum. You'll notice I tilt first, and then I start to pull. Okay, did you guys notice that? Let's try doing that again for you. So I'm going to go to enter in, okay. I'm going to tilt first, and then I'm going to pull. Now you notice that tilt gives me basically the speed of the hurricane, whereas the pull is going to give me the circumference, okay. So fast tilt, hard pull, basically is going to give you something like this, okay. Fast speed and a quick what's what I want to use here? A low circumference. And sorry, I got stammered up there and I crashed. So you want to tilt, you want to pull, you want to keep rudder at that sideways angle, and you want to guide with collective essentially. But your collective is really just keeping you at a certain elevation, whereas your aileron and elevator adjustments are what are going to keep you basically controlling the momentum of the machine. So once again, guys, you know, you want to get good at, you know, even shifting momentum right into a little bit of a shifting figure eight here. We're going to shift momentum here, but get that circumference going. We're going to shift here, and actually almost, that was a little ugly. I lost my momentum a little bit there. But for hurricanes, I mean, they're a pretty basic trick, but they unlock the door into a lot of different fun combinations, different tricks you can do. I mean, if you're a boss like some of the pros, you can get into pirouetting hurricanes, which is insane. Let me see if I can get a pirouette hurricane for you here. But essentially, you want to master a hurricane in this orientation here, which is kind of how I learned them. So we started going off here, and then we want to be able to just rotate into a pie dish style hurricane, which I kind of lost it a little bit. We'll go into a nose in. They're actually really hard to do slow, and then we'll go into a nose down. So you'll see here, once I get those orientations going, you can get into that pirouetting hurricane, which those are hard to do, guys. I'm actually, honest to God with you guys, still inexperienced at pirouetting hurricanes, which I should be a little better at these days, you know, in my flying career, but I'm not. So it is what it is. But essentially, guys, for hurricanes, I really hope this was like a useful video. Like I said, it's a really hard concept to try to teach, just because you got to get out there and get the experience, and there's so many variables when it comes into you know, the hurricane concept. But essentially, you just want to pay attention to angles, pull back on elevator, and keeping that rudder sideways or flat, and level with the ground, if you will, right? If that makes a little more sense. If I start to come in, I'll lose it, and also if we delay, we'll start to blow out of the turn. So there's a lot of variables that come into play, guys. So just get out and practice them. And as always, give yourself plenty of room, you know, above the ground. That way, in case you have a mistake, right? If I just flood it, right, and I'm coming into this big hurricane, and right now I'm saying, oh my God, what do I do? And I just flood that collective. No big deal. We just punched out of it. We can come back. We can settle our nerves. Maybe go into a couple, you know, forward-moving barrel rolls, if you will, and just calm down and then give it another attempt. So for hurricanes, guys, that's basically going to sum it up. I hope this video was useful for you. We'll try to cover some more of those simple but yet in-depth maneuvers. And just based upon requests, guys, I try to fulfill any request you guys give me as much as I can, of course. And it's all based upon popularity, and hurricanes seem to be a popular one. So let's go ahead and shoot an auto rotation as always, and I will see you guys on the next video. Just for hell's sake, let's try some inverted auto here. Let's see how that goes. Woo! Ah, a little sketchy. Thanks for watching, guys.